All right, guys, we're starting the year off big. 1,200 horsepower. Every dollar you spend at lsnasty.com will get you entered to win. .1,200 horsepower turbo Trans Am, 91mm turbo, 388 cubic inch LS on Holley EFI, built 400, built rear end, Viking suspension. This thing is a true muffin cap peeler. All right, y'all, Crispy Chicken giveaway is live over at lsnasty.com. Every dollar you spend will get you entered to win. We got a brand spanking new Slick Rick shirt. My new favorite. Look at how good that shirt looks. You guys can get this. Cop it right now, lsnasty.com. And we got a bunch of other merchandise. This is just a few options that we have on the website. And like I said, every dollar you spend gets you entered to win this 1,200 horsepower beast. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Tuesday. It is actually Tuesday, 12:30 in the morning right now, and I'm just trying to get wrapped up here at the shop. I had a very, very busy day doing a bunch of 10 million different things. We got the Trans Am, the giveaway Trans Am. By far, what I think our best giveaway. Some people said brown sugar was better, but let me tell you why this giveaway is better. It's got way, 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 way better chassis. It's got a parachute on there. It's got a 90-some millimeter turbo. I think brown sugar had 94. This is 91. So very, very, very similar in size. And it's a Trans Am. I like the F body over the G body. I mean, I like them both, but I like the F body over the G body. So that's maybe I'm a little indifferent. Maybe it's a little partial. Maybe it's a little biased. But that's just how it is. So if you guys aren't going to lsnasty.com and picking up merchandise, just get out from underneath your rock that you live in and get some badass merchandise. I'm wearing one of the OG like LS Nasty long sleeve shirts. Love this thing. Super nice and warm and cozy today. Also, we're doing some upgrades to my deck over trailer, which, as you can tell, is all disassembled. I'll talk about that in a video on the Nasty Racing channel. And we're doing an upgrade to the Dodge 3rd Gen 5.9. I just got a forced inductions turbo here for it. We're doing a 2nd Gen swap for all you diesel guys out there. 64 millimeter. Should be pretty nice. I'm excited about it. 90 millimeter backside. T4 S400. Should be ready to peel my muffin cap back blue. As we just move throughout the shop, I guess I'll give you guys this update what we got going on. Very, very bummed. Slick Rick is not going to be making it to testing on Wednesday because this is going back to M&M Transmissions. They're going to update the lockup. From here down, it's going to be all new. Gotta send all this stuff back. Chris came by the shop today. This is how you know Chris came by the shop, because stuff's just peeled off and like... Yeah, so I guess we got to finish peeling the rest of that off. We make our way over here to Mason. This is Mason's part of the shop, I guess you could say. How much is rent here?
Dollar-wise, or?
It's just, you answer the question however you like. How's rent here?
Dollar-wise is pretty cheap, but it's overall a little expensive.
A little expensive? Elaborate. We're here to elaborate. You're the star of this video, so elaborate.
You know, you work for it.
You work for it? It's been pretty lax lately.
It has been pretty lax.
You haven't done shit.
I have not done anything for you in like a month.
Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough.
John, hey, you've been flipping out though.
I've been just busy, so I haven't had time to...
Every day I get to hear it. Don't lie.
Alright. See, he just dug himself a hole. Watch this. Everyone watch this. Whose welding gas you been using?
Whose water you been using?
That doesn't count. Does not count. Whose welding gas you been using?
Whose water you been using?
Oh my god, he bought the welder off Travis I've been using because my miller's getting repaired. Alright, we'll skip past that. Whose porter band you been using?
I've been using John's.
Whose blades?
Well,
no, answer. I asked first. Whose blades?
Yours.
Did you get more after you messed up? Like, okay, hold on. You don't even answer that. Did you happen to use an aluminum flap disc on?
No, that I 100% did. I used that deal.
So you're using my flap discs? Are you using my cutoff wheels?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you using my drill bits?
Oh yeah.
Are you using my Milwaukee tools?
Oh yeah.
Dude, y'all, do you guys see this? I don't have children for this specific reason, and then I have a full-grown one. All right, tell them how the storm went, because we had a pop-up storm. We were very busy. I was busy doing the management stuff. Mason and Logan took the plow trucks up north, tractors up north, guys in the Midwest. You know, David's right now in Tennessee. I got guys working out in Alabama. Very, very, very short pop-up. All the stuff up north was just like, go up, no work, come back. Most of the guys that went out west went out there, no work, came back. I only got like 2 guys working left. But it was very hectic, and it's a very crazy, like 2 or 3 days just getting everything out there, and then they're like, hey, there's no work. But, you know, I mean, you get paid to go out there, so it's no big deal. But how's it been?
It was good. I didn't want to go. I had a bunch of stuff going on, and I was like, John, I just can't. He was like, you can.
Is that exactly what I said?
And what that pretty much means is you're going. Like, I don't know if you realize it or not, but you're going. So like, whatever. Drove up there.
Yep.
I'm checking the weather the whole way up there.
Like nothing.
I'm tired, boss. I'm tired, boss.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
John, I got John on my shoulder right here going, that's too damn bad.
Too damn bad! You keep digging!
You know? And so I stopped off about 4 a.m. because 4 to 5 a.m. gets me every time.
Yeah, you're done.
Done.
Driving tired's the worst,
Yes.
by the way.
Yes. So like when you start to when you really know that you have to pull over is when you wake up in the driver's seat and you look down and you're doing like 35 mile an hour in the left lane on the interstate and you're like, it's time to pull over. So I pull over, check the weather again just to see if there's anything. There's nothing coming.
Yeah.
So I go to sleep. I'm like, I'm going to set my alarm for an hour.
You guys made it up there and sat the whole day, right?
Yeah. So I slept for an hour, woke up, once again, checked the weather. There's still nothing. I'm like, going back to sleep. I slept for another hour, got up and drove the rest of the way. But I got there. I mean, we knew we had no tickets to do. We sat there for the whole day, basically.
Yeah, and then came on back.
Went and ate and headed home.
Got paid for it, though.
Got paid.
Made a bag?
Made a quick little check, you know?
Yeah, for literally doing nothing.
Doing nothing. Literally drove to New York and back.
Got paid fat. No, 0 expenses.
0.
Yeah, you can't beat it. And he didn't want to go because he wanted to finish Chase's car. And I appreciate your I don't know what you want to call it.
I mean, like,
your will to not want to go to finish this, but
to be honest, make way more money on it. I made like as much money going up there and driving back as what I made on doing Chase's car.
And you've been working on this for like 2 months.
A month.
2 months.
Well, it's been here 2 months, but we've been gone through 3 or 4 weeks of that.
Yep. All right. Well, so let's give us a rundown here. This is Chase's car. You guys might know this as Bloodbath, Shannon's car. His father
And now
passed it along to the son,
it's Ls Swapped.
and it is Ls Swapped.
We're changing the name to Bubble Bath.
No, don't you? Don't act like you're a small walk forward guy. For those guys that follow like grudge racing, limited 28s, small tire racing in the Carolinas, you guys know that Bloodbath here is a very well-known, very well-respected car in radial racing. Won the 2019 limited 28s like whole series, whooped up on a bunch of people, gone very fast. I do want to add, he's only beat me when I've knocked the tires off, but I've outrun him like 3 times. So that's kind of cool. Facts. Facts.
That's facts.
Facts.
But I don't know if I would be bragging if you look at what this car is compared to what Black Sheep is.
I mean, the Black Sheep's kind of rough. I mean, look at this. Look at the body on it right there. Look at that thing. It's got a little imperfection. So we're just going to go over this quick and dirty front to back. This car is actually pretty cool because Shannon, when I was still in like 6th grade, this thing was like a normal Fox body, and Shannon built this whole thing in his garage, and it slowly progressed to where it is now. The car has been like extremely fast. Very, very, very similar times to the Black Sheep. If that, I'm not going to say any specific times, but you guys use your brain and just know that this thing is gone just as fast as that thing, which is impressive in itself. That was with the small block Ford and the 118 on there. So very, very fast car. Big props to Shannon. I mean, Shannon's a very smart guy. Shannon's part of, the small block Ford Nasty, Ls Nasty family, and he comes over and helps us out with a bunch of stuff. He's helped me put some LS motors together, helped me with some tune-up stuff. I mean, it's just a very good ecosystem and friendly relationship that everyone has. We all have each other's backs, and we get stuff done. So that's what it's all about. So Chase has it now. Shannon took the small block Ford out and put it in his new S10 that he's got, and gave Chase the chassis. So this is it's a 25. I think it specs to like a 25.5, but it's got some additional bars in there. It's factory rear suspension, factory front suspension. Now it's got a stock block LS in there, a TDI 94mm turbo, and HOLLEY Dominator. So Mason's been doing the wiring and the plumbing on there. How many times I yell at you to change things?
A few. I've never done a methanol car that had fuel injection.
Oh my God!
One with a carburetor.
Don't make me throw up on camera.
One with a carburetor.
Okay, settle down there.
And I've wired a lot of HOLLEY cars, but never a race car.
How much different for the people at home, right? Because you've done like a large amount of street car stuff, and like fast street car stuff, hot rod stuff.
Right.
I don't really do any of the fast street car hot rod stuff.
Luckily, that wasn't a nice hatch before I ran it over with the chair. Yeah, this is more like my style. The LTD stuff like that, where I wire everything up, hide absolutely everything. It all runs off of a key. There might be like one button for a boost controller, and everything else you never touch, never see.
And I'm like the opposite.
Yes. So something like this, you're trying to make it serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all exposed, so you have to like really do your due diligence to make it look like extra.
It's like people don't understand how much different it is going from like one to the other.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
I look at everything here, and like I guess we'll call them recommendations to Mason when he was doing stuff is I look at everything as, hey, we're at the track, we need to work on it. Hey, how serviceable is this? Hey, let's not put this here because it gets in the way of doing this. Where when you're doing more of the street car stuff, you're putting stuff in there to like lay nice, look nice, be where it needs to be. You're not going to work on it all the time. Like these cars are meant to be, the race cars at least, are meant to be torn apart, worked on. Like you put the fuel filter somewhere where you can get the housing off without having to take the mount off. Well, how many times are you taking the fuel filter off your street car?
Once a year.
Maybe. Yeah.
If you like care about maintenance at all,
it's just a completely different strategy and approach.
It's a lot different, and like you were saying, I'm so used to like where the goal is to make everything look as pretty and aesthetically pleasing as possible, and everything else is kind of, if it works there, it works there.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I have a lot of things that really bother me on how they look, but at the end of the day, it's a race car. And it has a purpose to be a race car and for things to be serviceable.
It becomes a tool. It comes from being like a work of art to a tool. Now, you get stuff like Slick Rick where like we've spent an enormous amount of time and money on that to kind of, I guess, bring both worlds together.
So like on this car, I've spent way more time than I should have and way more time than I could have. But I still have that in me where I try to make things look as good as possible. So I find myself redoing a lot of things, changing the way I did things. And then also there's a lot that I'm learning about like with the mechanical fuel pump stuff and like just all the data acquisition stuff, all that I'm learning. I haven't messed with that stuff before. Now I feel like I have a really good handle on it, and now I feel like when I bring a car like this, if I was to do another car like this, which I really don't want to, but I'm getting ready to, I have an idea of what I have to do now better. Before, like, I'm around them, don't get me wrong, so I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I know how things work. It's just I've never actually put them together myself.
Yeah.
So
and until you work on them, like you were in Georgia helping us work on everything, until you're at the track working on them, I think you get a new like understanding of like why it's important to put. And a lot of that stuff is personal preference too. Like the way that I build a car is going to be different than the way that you build a car. And it's all, I mean, there's no right or wrong way. It's like, I look at a lot of people's cars and I'm just like, man, that would drive me nuts if it was like that. I'm sure they look at a lot of my cars and they're like, why the hell they do that?
I mean, we both even look at some of your cars and like, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know? Like, there's just some things. And then some of those things are not avoidable. Some of those things, it is what it is. Like, it's how it needs to, it's the only way to do it.
Like when you have to put a motor in the Black Sheep with a pry bar. You know, not ideal, but we just deal with it.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. There was some things that I did wrong, for sure.
You want to go over them? I'm like, guys, it's like watching my kid, you know, just first signs of accountability here. This is just, I'm not enjoying this. It's like a proud father moment.
All right,
let's start off with the fuel rails.
See, John is just like so worried about these fuel rails.
Yeah, all right, because, listen, I want to say before anything happened, I said, hey, just pop that bottom injector O-ring out and we'll be good to go.
So, I have heard the bottom injector O-ring thing before. Some intakes you have to do it, some you don't. I stuck the injector in there, and man, it felt like it bottomed out. It really did. It felt like it bottomed out hard. I thought it did, and I was like, no. Because obviously, if I can run 2 O-rings in there, I want to run 2 O-rings in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it bottomed out. I thought it bottomed out hard. And then the clips for the injectors, which I think will still be a problem with new ones.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have to be notched some. But the clips for the O-ring, you were never getting the connector on. No way, no how. And they make these injectors in a couple different styles. And we actually have, these are a mix of both styles.
Yeah, some of them, the actual connector end.
They're billet atomizer 700s.
Some of them, the injector goes like up, and then some of them it just goes straight out. So the up or the out really dictates how much clearance you have on the fuel rail.
When they go up, the connector is very tight against the fuel rail here. So my thought is well, I'll take an injector and I'll take the fuel rails up to the machine shop. Say, hey, here's my injector. Here's a fuel rail. Here's a connector. I even took a connector up there. I said, make it fit. So they machined the fuel rails down. They did a nice job. These guys right up here behind the shop.
Yeah, they do an awesome job.
Yeah,
and it's super convenient.
Yeah,
run
super.
Up there.
They even bring it back to you.
Yeah,
it's like the best thing ever. It's like Christmas because you don't even know they brought it back to you because they give it to John and then John doesn't even tell you.
Yeah, I just set him on the toolbox.
Yeah, you just find it. So anyway, I had them take too much off of the fuel rail. It's in there. If this was my car, I'd 100% run it. But it's not my car. I'm not the one who has to burn up in it.
Yeah, that's kind of important.
And I really like Chase. He's a good friend. So I'm not going to burn him up in it either. So I had to buy him new fuel rails. Luckily, they're the regular old HOLLEY rails.
Fuel rails.
They're
Yep.
cheap.
Yep.
Amazon, shout out. Amazon.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of those things where, you know, I've been around it enough and I've seen it, and I know like a lot of the LS intakes, the fuel rail spacing, obviously it's pretty generic how they make them. Sometimes it's like for the short injectors or the tall injectors, mainly for the tall injectors, and then you just run the spacers. If you take the bottom O-ring out, it will bottom the injector out. The actual body of the injector will bottom out, which is good because you got to think this fuel rail is going to have, when it's cranked up, you know, it's usually 90 pounds of base, but let's just say it's 100 pounds of base pressure. That's 100 pounds of fuel pressure pushing down on the injector. If you're running another 50 pounds of boost, that's 150 psi pushing down on there. If there's any play in there, it will push the injector down. So if the O-ring is close and it's pushing down, then you could have an O-ring failure. And like honestly, the injector stuff is like, you know, we had an O-ring failure on the dyno, and we had to swap all new O-rings on the injectors. It's really something that like probably I'd say gets overlooked a lot, but it would be very, very important to kind of address to be like up to speed, make sure,
yeah, 100%.
You know, double, triple check.
And like that's another thing, we're doing a lot of like the street car stuff. You jump the Bosch 210s instantly because that's you're running 85. It's a race car. You don't care how it drives or any of that. We need this thing to make power.
Yeah.
So you jump the Bosch 210s. Well, we don't necessarily do that. We try to size an injector that's, you know, the smallest that we can run that will do what we need it to do, because you can better tune your drivability that way. That being said, sometimes we end up some like weird spacing injectors and stuff. So I've spent a lot of time before making brackets and stuff like that to
like adjust the fuel rail height.
The fuel rail height. But with something like this, you're not going to adjust the fuel rail height because the actual pocket in the fuel rail is just not deep enough anymore. So what I'll do is, honestly, I'll take these off. I'll put these brand new ones on it, which are still going to have to be notched. I'll go get them notched again, just less, about half as much as the last time. And I'll put these in my Mustang. It's a pump gas car, run 45 pounds of fuel pressure.
And they actually sell, like, I think for this intake, they sell a different stand. So if you're running the smaller ones, the stand goes down, then it wouldn't be an issue. The billet atomizers, like if you're going from the stock LS stuff, just like keep an eye on it. Some intakes that have like the weld bungs on them, they require both O-rings, but again, it's just something that you kind of have to like spend some time with and mess with.
Like I said, I thought that it was bottoming out. It really did feel like it until we took an O-ring off and shoved it down in, and then it was like completely different. I was like, okay, I was wrong.
Who had to show you that?
Actually, Matt.
when Big Brother comes to town, you know.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I can't lie. I learn a lot from Matt very often. He's a little bit like a race car encyclopedia.
Yeah, just ask him a question, he just knows it.
Yeah.
But
whether
like,
he wants
honestly,
to give you the answer or not is a whole other thing. But
I taught Matt most of what he knows, so I just try to stay humble is all.
I wish y'all could just see John operate on a daily basis.
All right, so this thing here, setup wise, is pretty solid. It's a pretty proven setup. Forged LS 94mm forced inductions, TDI turbo. Just made the swap to a 400 from a Power Glide, 2-speed 400.
Yeah, we had pretty much everything done. We were ready to measure for a drive shaft, and then Chase dropped off a 2-speed 400 and said we're going to switch it up a little bit. So, unfortunately, that car's stuck on the lift. So me and Chase put a 400 in it on the ground by hand.
It's like Projects.
Yeah.
But 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always fun. That's always fun.
I don't know. Have they seen Chase?
Yeah, they've seen Chase. Yeah, they got to be.
I'm not a large guy. I mean, like I'm a kind of large guy, but like I'm not a large guy. Chase is about half the size of me. So me and him putting that 400 in was a little bit of a struggle. But
well, I'll teach you the tricks because I'm about to pull the 400 out of the Black Sheep on Projects there in a day or two.
The tricks is a transmission jack.
No, it's a floor jack with a piece of wood on it, and we are golden.
That's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
Got it in there. Luckily, it went in kind of smooth. This car had a 2-speed 400 in it. With Shannon had the small block Ford in here, but for whatever reason, and they left the mid plate in the same place, but for whatever reason, this deal did not fit in the trans tunnel.
No.
So I know that they moved the motor up quite a bit in this deal. I think might be some plans to no prep this thing. So the motor's moved up pretty high, and that made the 400 pretty tight in there. But I was able to use a handy dandy hammer and make it fit. That is one thing that I've found really nice about this race car stuff is like, especially like a car that's not like had all the body work done and painted and stuff like that, super nice body wise, is if you just need to hammer some shit out, you just hammer it out of the way.
Hey, make it fit.
John kind of hurts me sometimes when I see him do it. I mean, like, really hurts me sometimes when I see him do it, because he'll just hack some shit up, like.
But I make it look nice at the end.
For a race car.
For a race car, you know, for a race car. Listen, it looks really good in the winter circle with the front end on. So, like we said, Holley EFI. It's got the Dominator over there. 6.8 Pro Dash. Got the is that new switch panel you got wired up there?
Yeah. Believe it or not, this is a handy dandy Amazon switch panel.
I think Shannon had the same one in here.
So Shannon had the same one, but he had been running it so long, it wasn't even that it didn't work anymore. The buttons were just wore out. Like, they didn't click anymore, really. Like, they were just wore out. And
so he's got a new one.
Yeah.
So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know?
Right. Well, and the thing was, I was like, hey, Chase, just get a new one. He's like, well, it was still working when Dad took it apart. And I was like, just get a new one. They're $15 on Amazon. So we got a new one. This is like a... who makes all the...
Painless?
Painless, yes. This is like a painless...
relay board?
Relay box and fuse box. But it's been grafted in to work with this Amazon switch panel. And it actually works great. It's been modified quite a few times. So I had to go back and unmodify it and put it back the way it was to make everything work the way I wanted it to. And that's another thing with like wiring cars and stuff like that. I mean, if Devin sees this whole contraption going on here, I'm sure you'd have a coronary. But it works, it's functional, and it's easy to work on.
Again, a million ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
So, a lot of that stuff was well, I mean, the car had some sensors and some stuff on it previously. It was originally built to be HP. When they made the switch with the 400, they put a Dominator in it.
Yeah.
So.
And you gotta look at it.
That's how race cars are, though. When you're building that shit, it's changing the whole time.
So, like, you built Slick Rick, and you knew what that car was going to be from the get-go, and you built it for that. You got to remember, this car started out as a stock 5.0 car, like stock. That was when Pops owned it. Pops actually used to own this.
Yep.
So it was bone stock then, and it's just progressed and got more and more serious over the years. So there's some things that don't get updated with everything else, and most people aren't going to tear their car completely down and redo the whole car when they make upgrades. Yeah,
no, I totally agree.
So, but the problem is you get that gap from where you were like a hot street car, where it probably made, 700 or 800 horsepower and was fast, but like a lot of things didn't need. And then as you keep upgrading, you forget about things. So then it makes that gap between the race car and the street car or stock car like huge. So when they wired the car, it was originally wired, for a regular old 302 and everything, and it didn't need a lot. And then over the years, they kept adding to it, and eventually it gets to the point where you're better off to rip it out and start over and set it up for what it's doing now.
Yep, kind of like a fresh start.
So that's kind of what we tried to do without going overboard and spending a ton of money.
So data-wise, you got some transmission data, you got rear shock travel, probably got a G-meter, just all the drag race stuff.
Yes.
So, and then it's got this shifter that was actually in Chase's car. You guys probably saw Chase's car on the channel. His car caught on fire in his shop, and the shifter made it into this car. So
I actually just tore this thing apart earlier today. It used to like feel honestly, it felt terrible. It didn't really work that well. So I tore it apart earlier today. I put a new shifter cable in it.
I can't believe the air solenoid still works.
We don't know that it works. We haven't tried it. We haven't tested it.
If you had to ask me, I would say that thing's not going to be a happy camper.
That's my assumption.
I mean, is that the fitting just melted into it? Oh no, it's a metal fitting.
Yeah, it's a metal
fitting. I thought it was a plastic one just melted into it.
Yeah, I thought the same thing at first. At first, I was like, why are we even using this shifter? Then I started messing with it, and I was like, damn, it still works. It really
Shout out to B&M for making it just a solid fireproof product.
It literally went through, look at it. It went through a fire.
Yeah.
But... yeah, no, I pulled it apart earlier, and I greased it up a little bit and cleaned some things inside of it. It was full of, like, fire debris, I guess. And I cleaned it out. Like I said, I cleaned it out, greased it up, and it works great.
Yeah.
Feels like a new one.
I get Bloodbath 2.0, small block 4, delete, LS Swap, enter the chat, is just about ready for the track. Waiting on a fuel pump belt, mechanical fuel pump deal. And then it's track ready, I guess.
I think we'll fire it up this weekend.
Yeah, no, that'd be good.
Oh, another thing I want to say is to hell with doing PTFE line with normal fittings. Do Brown & Miller. It's not that bad. Like whenever you have your fuel tank in the back and you just got to run a feed and a return to the rails. But when you got all this going on in a small area, it is very hard to do a PTFE line because it does not bend.
Yeah, and the flexibility. So how painful was it when you were plumbing this thing, right?
And I was watching you guys plumb the Red Lobster, and it was just like, and I'm over here like stripping out fittings because like, they don't fit, and like, I only stripped out one fitting. To be clear, I put in a lot of fittings. I stripped out one, but yeah, watching you guys do that over there while I was struggling with this over here.
And we did the whole thing in like.
It took me days to plumb this car, and you guys plumbed the whole car in one night.
Yeah. That's like very casual when we work on stuff. I'm not going to lie, guys. When Matt and I work on stuff, it's quite casual. We're just kind of putting some parts on it here and there and then talking and goofing off. So, but yeah, I mean, listen, you guys heard it here. That's not me. I'm not selling Brown & Miller stuff to you guys. I don't make any money off of it. I'm not sponsored by them. Mason experienced it firsthand by us doing it. He's been around it, then he had to go and do the normal stuff, and it's quite a big difference.
I'm not saying that you have to plumb your whole car in Brown & Miller stuff, but let's be honest, if you're building a car of this caliber, you can do the Brown & Miller stuff.
And the cost, honestly, is about the same.
If you're doing a car like that, and you're running a fuel line from the very back of the car, and that doesn't need to be Brown. Let's be honest, it doesn't need to be. There's no real reason to do that, to spend the extra money on that, but when you're getting into something like this, I mean, if you look at like this line right here, I had to do this line wonky because this hose has no flexibility. That is the most you can flex that hose without kinking it.
Oh yeah, the Brown and Miller stuff you could put almost in a loop.
Yeah, you could. I could have come out of here with a 90 and 90 down, and then had an angle right into here, and it would have looked much nicer. Same thing over here. I could have done this differently and made this look a lot nicer. Now it's kind of weird. It looks like a drawbridge across there, which I'm not a fan of it. But what do you do? I mean, there's not a lot you can do when you can't bend the line. So.
Well,
what it is.
There it is. All right, guys. The new Ls Swapped Bloodbath, ready for the track. Comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. Do you think it will be faster than the small block Ford Bloodbath? That is the question. And Chase has been talking some smack. He wants smoke. He wants all the smoke. So we're going to give him all the smoke once it's ready. We're going to give him time to get it ironed out, though. So once it's ironed out, Chase, you got action. Who do you like?
What are we racing? Red Lobster?
Red Lobster, Slick Rick, Black Sheep.
Listen, this thing's just a little stock block. This thing's got a stock crank in it.
We did just throw a 481X on him there. We'll take it easy on you. But all right, guys, comment down below if you guys are interested in having Mason work on your car or do anything like that. I don't do any work on customer cars, nothing like that, but Mason does. You can send him an email at lsnastymason@gmail.com.
It is.
LSNasty.
Some easy stuff for once.
Cam swap.
Too much.
He works on all of my fleet trucks as well. Did motor swap in one of them, cam swap in another one.
About to do another motor.
About to do another motor, about to do another cam swap. So you guys hit him up. Any of your LS stuff, he'll get you straight. So lsnastymason@gmail.com. Thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Go to lsnasty.com and pick up some merchandise so you guys can win a Trans Am. Enjoy your Tuesday.